Pre-order the official Fact Hunt book from Unbound.com today! No, seriously. Good old Easter eggs. Those cheeky little meta marvels that programmers have been sticking in games since their very inception. However, as entertaining and rewarding it is discovering them, sometimes these eggs can turn out to be rotten, containing all kinds of shocking and disturbing secrets. So, considering I've already covered offensive cheat codes and offensive passcodes, why not milk it further and cover offensive Easter eggs too? So this episode, I take a look at these sinister secrets, these formidable furtives, and his repugnant reticence, as I say, but...
Hello you, I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt. Top 5 offensive Easter eggs.
What are you doing here? Get off my show!
But Easter eggs are my shtick, you'll just watch mojoing me here.
Oh, that's just cold, James. For such a well-loved legendary title, it's amazing no one has ever really mentioned this alarming Easter egg in Final Fight before. Now, long-time fans of Fact Hunt may remember Richard Mad as a Hatter Applin appearing in a few of my early episodes, an extremely talented programmer who was rather infamous for hiding diary-long diatribes in his code. I've already spoken about his lengthy rant in the Amiga version of Final Fight in a previous episode, as well as his rather amusing blog that appears on screen when you enter a cheat code. But what I didn't happen to mention was that Richard also felt the need to crudely expand on the Capcom universe lore in his own rather comical way, which Yoshinori Ono is actually making canon as we speak. Google it. Anyhow, to activate this egg, all you need to do is tap the help key 5 times as soon as Hagar turns on the television during the opening cutscene. Then simply finish the game as normal to reveal an extended ending, explaining what happened to Cody and Co. following the events of Final Fight. Life of Guy. Guy died April 5th, 2028. After a youth filled with unlikely fighting exploits, Guy settled down to a normal life as an insurance loss adjuster. He married a 24-stone traffic warden and died in his armchair, aged 65. Life of Cody. Cody died February 14th, 1996. He married Jessica, but divorced 8 months later due to his drink problem. Died at 29 after tripping when drunk and falling headfirst into a sewer. Life of Hagar. Hagar died January 5th, 1998. Left the office of mayor in disgrace after a cocaine scandal, and 2 years later was convicted of sheep molesting. Died at 55 after catching a nasty disease from a dirty telephone. And people wonder why Capcom have never included Hagar in Street Fighter. By eerie coincidence, Cody becoming an alcoholic is also the plotline to Capcom's rather disastrous Xbox and PS2 game Final Fight Streetwise. But, needless to say, it's an Easter egg Capcom have never been informed of. Well, until one of you lot retweet this video to them, anyway. War has never been so much fun, according to the game's intro song. And if the tactical slaughter of Lego men in various remote locations is your cup of tea, then Cannon Fodder will be right up your action RTS alley. Anyhow, developer Sensible Software's schoolboy humour thought it was rather funny that their game was being published by Virgin Interactive, so ever so slightly doctored their logo during the opening splash screen. Now, normally you wouldn't be able to see it while playing the game, but look into the game's code and find the image, then set colour palette entry 31 from black to white. And you get this rather smutty message. But if you thought the boys at Sensi stopped there, then think again. Complete the game and you're presented with a lovely monochrome image of the team, giving rather cryptic messages. If you haven't figured it out already, piece together the first letter of every word. Yep, for all the lengths you went to into buying their game and all that time and effort into finishing it, they congratulate you with a glorious fuck you. Charming! In the days before one-on-one beat-em-ups were wanting to be Street Fighter knockoffs, they were endlessly plagiarising Data East's Karate Champ instead, such as Melbourne House's Way of the Exploding Fist. It was a pretty decent fighter for its time that magazines raved over. But despite how good it was, Way of the Exploding Fist will probably go down in history as the only game endorsed by a celebrity sportsman have their name taken off the title on account of no one knowing who the fuck they were. Anyhow, this offensive Easter egg is found in its rather disappointing sequel, Fist 2, The Legend Continues. I suppose calling it Fist 2, Fist Harder would have been a bit on the nose, which dumped everything that made the original great and turned it into a boring scrolling adventure where you go around beating up cats for some reason. But in the two-player training mode, some sneaky fella decided to be a jolly idea to hide an image of a naked woman in the fauna. Thanks to the Specky's rather limited colour palette, it is rather hard to see, which is probably why no one noticed it for years. So let me make it a little bit clearer for you here. Nothing sneakier than adding in a bit of 8-bit pixelated porn in your software, is there? A Nintendo game on a list of offensive Easter eggs, Larry? Why, yes indeedy. Even the squeaky clean persona of the almighty N isn't totally innocent from some shady secrets, and Kirbys Dreamland 2 on the Game Boy is a perfect example of this. Now, if the adventures of a shaven testicle that goes around sucking off anything in its vicinity isn't already a massive entendre, if you travel to level 55, you'll see this. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's so offensive about that? It's just a standard Kirby level. However, if you went to the lengths of taking screen grabs of this section and then pasting them all together, you get a crudely drawn image of a naked woman. Alright, you need to be particularly weird to get off something so poorly drawn, but the fact this went past Nintendo censors during the height of their PG crusade is rather surprising. The world wasn't exactly screaming out for a scrolling brawler starring anthropomorphic mallards and Colonel Sanders, for some reason, when Sega released Dynamite Ducks in 1988, which is probably why they've never really bothered with it since. But for a scrolling beat-em-up starring two bestiality-obsessed cuckold ducks who share a human girlfriend and assault local wildlife, you'd think this game would be offensive enough. However, developers Core Design, probably best known for making the original Tomb Raider games, thought they'd up the trigger factor when they added a rather crude Easter egg to the Commodore Amiga and Atari ST versions of the game. Rumours at the time had circulated that there was an abhorrent Easter egg in the game, but as with most gossip, it was never explained how to actually do it. But this is where the story goes completely dopey. One hacker broke into the game's code to discover if it was true, and upon discovering alternate sprites for the egg, was amazed to find out it was. However, they seem to have been confused by some cryptic wording in the game's code, and confused it for a milder Easter egg found much later in the game. In case you were wondering what that was, typing nude during the bonus level has all the ring bunnies expose their breasts. A crude Easter egg, yes, but not quite the infamous one. So, whoever this hacker was wanted to get their name immortalised in magazines and submitted it to their cheats page. But amazingly, not one single magazine ever bothered to check if the code actually worked. In fact, even to this very day, gaming websites are still posting this false code as real. So, through this bizarre combination of events, for 30 years the world believed that this code was fake, even though it partially wasn't. But now for some good news. Thanks to the help of my good friend Ian from CodeTapper.com, we can not only prove that this Easter egg does exist, but for the first time ever, actually tell you how to finally unlock it. Now, if you play the game normally, or attempted to enter the fake cheat codes into the game, upon starting the game, you'll see this rather standard intro of Lucy being kidnapped and the two ducks going into a door to rescue her. However, if one happened to load the game into a hex editor, look for the line, "If you want to see something dirty, put code here," and simply replace the 5 dots with the word dirty. Yeah, I know it's not much of a hidden passcode, but for your reward, you'll be able to see this erogenous egg in all its filthy glory. One day, Lucy was playing with herself, while Bin and Pin were buggering each other in the beautiful flower garden. Then suddenly, an evil black pimp appeared and changed into some kinky leather gear while they were watching. Lucy startled and orgasmed at the size of his miracle balls, and disappeared with the pimp to his sleazy brothel. Therefore, Bin and Pin stopped giving each other one and ventured into the brothel, not wanting to miss out. So, there you have it. Conclusive proof that an Easter egg everyone believed was fake for nearly 3 decades was not only true, but with a little programming knowledge can easily be accessed. Who knows what other games out there contain similar sinister secrets? Hello you! Thanks ever so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future Fact Hunt episodes. Click on the bell if you already are to make sure you're notified, and be sure to check out my other episodes. And if you want to be super awesome, check out my Patreon. But thanks again for watching, and I'll be seeing you next time. Ta-ra for now!